Oleksandr Riepkin. A pleasure to have you here with us. You're from the Ukrainian Hydrogen Council president, and you're also advisor of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And let me mention that that was during my last, one of my last trips before the lockdown. We met in person at the Environment Ministry. So Oleksandr, now you will speak about prospects of hydrogen in Ukraine.
Okay, Stefan, thank you very much for invitation to have a floor on this great event. And unfortunately, everything now almost moved into a digital world. But I'm very missing our meetings when we have opportunity to shake our hands and to speak eye to eye, because I think for our generation, these changes are also dramatically because we used to have another way of cooperation. We are not a child of digital, but now let's use all possibility to contact even if the border is closed. So I'm really happy to be here, and I want to tell you a few words what is now going on in hydrogen world in general, maybe in Europe, a few words, and of course some information about what is going on in Ukraine. As you know, this year also historic for hydrogen in Europe as well, because on 8th of July, Franz Timmermans introduced European hydrogen strategy, and it was, I think, a great and milestone document for European Green Deal. So hydrogen have a lot of opportunity, and one of the main opportunity is sectoral integration using renewables. So renewable technology and the hydrogen together, I think this is our future for, I don't know even how many years. And hydrogen technology, I think, will be fourth industrial revolution and become a new energy carrier. And as Franz Timmermans said, become a currency for energy payment, something like this. So this strategy shows the direction and way in which European Commission will support all hydrogen technologies in transport, energy, and cooling and heating. Also, one of the main things is definition of hydrogen. And for me, as up to me, I'm very happy that hydrogen concerned to be done with the renewables, and first renewable who is mentioned, it's wind. This is why last week, I think you also know this information, was presentation of European offshore wind program, and Ukraine as well is a part of this offshore wind program. So after this event, Ukraine used to be a strong partner in this field, because we have a very strong wind potential, and it's the second potential in Europe after Great Britain. And we did a calculation, and in the next milestone document, which is called 2x40 Green Electrolyzer Initiative, which was also mentioned in Franz Timmermans' report, Ukraine mentioned as a strong partner, and we have capacity for at least 10 gigawatt of renewable electrolyzer, which should be built up to 2030. It means that we at least need to build additional about 13 up to 15 gigawatt of renewables. And I want to admits that mainly we take into consideration a wind farm, which can be built on the southern part of Ukraine. And of course, now we are working on the program for offshore Ukraine wind, because now we have some legislative restriction about building on a sea or in a sea. And we need to change some law and some documents which will allow, and standards which will allow us to build offshore wind in Ukraine. And we did this research with Andrei Konechenkov, and of course, I think up to the end of the year, we will have a direct plan how we need to move to make it possible to build in Black Sea near the Ukraine sea coast. So we see how quickly countries of Europe, as well as all over the world, think about hydrogen technology and research their own national strategies for hydrogen. For example, this year, we have hydrogen strategy in Portuguese, France, Germany, in Italy, and in Spain. And we see that next year, China, then I think Ukraine as well, then Finland, and the rest countries of European Union, I think, will have their own strategies, and we will have a strong political support for the new sphere and for the new production of hydrogen. And of course, European Investment Bank will be the main finance institution for this project. 2 weeks ago, there was a conference in Brussels for important project of common European interests, IPCEI, and it was held on the basement of Hydrogen for Climate Action, in which there was proclaimed 12 projects of common European interests for production hydrogen and to complete or to accomplish the whole hydrogen chain. It's from production and from renewable and up to final consumer. It can be chemical production, metal production, metallurgical production. It can be production of ammonium, and of course using hydrogen as the energy storage for seasonal save of energy and put it when we need it. So some figures. This 12 project common budget is about 65 billion euro. And of course, we are now working on two main for Ukraine project, which has named Blue Danube and White Dragon, which allows us to establish hydrogen production in Ukraine using the wind power, new facility which will be built, and exporting hydrogen to first country, Germany, and then Italy. Also, after this conference, we have a very strong interest from Bulgaria and Hungary, how they can use our existing pipeline, which we use for natural gas support, to transfer it for transport hydrogen, which can be also produced in southern part of Ukraine, which has a great potential for renewables. This potential was done under the study, and we have figures under the study which we done with 3 institutions. First, Institute of Renewable Energy, then our association, Ukraine Hydrogen Council, and Institute of Future, which did an economic analysis of the whole report. And we saw that general potential for renewable of southern part of Ukraine, it's about 100 gigawatt which can be built, and mainly, of course, wind. So this is small advertising of southern part of Ukraine for investors to think about it, how it can be implemented in their future plans. And you definitely will see it in our hydrogen strategy, which I think will be approved up to May or June next year. And of course, now hydrogen become not a future, but our nowadays, because we see the corona crisis stopped a lot of different production and manufacture. And now hydrogen will be used to update or to go out from crisis for economics of country, first European Union, and Ukraine should be a strong partner in this process, as we already signed, for example, with Germany, a new energy partnership, according to which hydrogen is on the table of the discussion. And I hope in a close future we will have German-Ukraine partnership in pilot projects for hydrogen, which will be supplied to Germany as a final consumer. And I think in this way we also need to go for maybe not to stop. I mean, not to go and not to stop, because in whole world, and as we see the tendency that someone thinks that renewables are too expensive and not really ecologically neutral. But we need to take the consideration that this technology is really our future and can be easily adopted for any region. We just need to think about three main points: existing of resources for water, possibility to build renewable, and of course transportation. So if you put it together, I think it's three main components for any hydrogen project which will be successful. And I think in close future, the demand for this project and development of this project will be very high. And I'm really think that in this way, we will closely cooperate with Wind Association or World Wind Association, with the Ukraine Wind Association, as we make the same plans and work under the same projects.
Thank you so much, Oleksandr. I think that was also a very interesting presentation of your views on the role that Ukraine can play, which of course is a very intriguing kind of idea of having in Central Europe energy imported from Ukraine. Do we have any direct questions to our speaker here? Let me just ask, because the previous speaker raised some points in terms of the investment, how to attract investment. What's your plan or your consideration? Probably you're not the one who's planning it, but your consideration, as we just heard about, that there are currently some challenges with investment and how investors would look at their investment. So what you're talking about is, of course, a kind of mid to long term also prospects. What's your suggestion on how to make sure that such investment, because I'm sure we talk about a very large amount of investment that needs to be done, how to make that sure?
Let me share with you my ideas and what we are discussing also with our Minister of Energy and with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The main thing is that sometimes Ukraine policy cannot take into consideration all figures of the process. So look at our energy sector now and our renewable. We have no option. We have too much built project, and pressure for budget is also very high, because we need to somehow compensate a really high tariff, which is now, for example, for sun. And we see that sun power station now can easily be built for 2 months, 10 megawatt, and final cost of the investment are very low. And for this period, your return money back is up to 2 or 3 years. And it's also not a really market situation. So first thing, which when we speak about hydrogen, we definitely need to take into consideration that we need to move in parallel. First, to make our own internal market. And this is the main I think thing which was announced by the office of Timmermans, that you will get support only in one thing, only one way, if you will not think like Chinese. So to get only resources and nothing more. Or he said, it's really his words, that he said, we don't need resources from you, we need you to be a part of a process. It means that from 10 gigawatt of proclaimed electrolyzer, we need at least to build 25% of it for our internal market. And to do it, we definitely need to understand that in very close future, on the border of European Union, we will have a tax payment for not green production. I think the question is already solved. How high it will be? It will depend, I think, of a policy which will be set under European Commission. But that the question is already solved, I think it's 100%. So we need to take to consideration, are we want to be a third world country, to be in Europe, or we need to change dramatically our production and first our mind to become a prosperous country and to integrate to European Union. And if our first project, of course, will be very hard, I think, in to make sure investor that the situation will not repeat as it already exists. But one strong point is that first project can be fully oriented for export hydrogen. So you will not have any demand for Ukrainian tariff, and you will look like independent energy island. All production of renewable will be transferred to hydrogen production, and hydrogen will be exported to Europe. So in this case, Ukrainian government and this construction will be much more stronger, and will have no any influence of the changing political situation. I think in this field we can find a really investor, because we will show and we will operate on 3 main points, as I told you earlier. Possibility to build renewable, as we have a good potential, sources of water which we have from Black Sea, and of course using our transport and logistic routes which is already existing.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that indeed the answer is somehow also closely related, as I understand you, with the European perspective that Ukraine has, which I think indeed is a strong answer. And now being based in Germany, of course, I can say that indeed this whole process is certainly very important, that European countries are closer and closer coming together. Yeah, I would like to say thank you then also to you, Oleksandr, for sharing this part of the Ukrainian story, which we all hope and look forward to seeing as a flourishing country in the future. I mean, at the moment, we all have to overcome our challenges, but in these challenges, we also have new opportunities. We know this. And one opportunity is that we can just briefly meet in such occasions, although not in person, unfortunately.